The amount of quotes and stories and references to interconnectedness and connection was overwhelming. But it was exciting. It was exciting to find so many people talking about the same idea. So, okay. There are days when I'm 100% connected. Perfect days. Perfect days. I'm 100% connected to spirit, with all things, all life, everything. You know those days? Have you had them? I wake up and I feel instantly plugged in. Like everything flows easily. I can see through the illusion of current events, of traffic, of the potentially intimidating to-do list of my day, all of it. Everything just flows, and it feels like there's this gentle, benevolent hand just sort of guiding me through and carrying me along. Everything is cooperating. It's perfect. And then there are those other days. Little autocorrect action for you. Do you want to inflate your girlfriend to go skiing with us? I just thought that was hilarious. And yeah, there are a lot of autocorrects that were really, really funny and incredibly inappropriate. So I had to narrow it down. But there are some days where it's just like, nothing. I got nothing. I'm tripping, I'm falling, I'm dropping things. I can't do anything. So what happens? What changes? What disconnects us? A few weeks back, I shared a quote about prayer being the process of us hooking our boat to the shore and pulling our boat to the shore, as opposed to pulling the shore to the boat. So what disconnects is us. We're the ones who disconnect. We're the ones who forget and get wrapped up in the illusion. It's not spirit, because that doesn't ever change. It's us. I continue to struggle with that concept. I just so want to blame. Can't it be anything but me? Anything? So this idea of constancy and connectedness, in Romeo and Juliet, in the balcony scene, Juliet is seeking some kind of promise or commitment from Romeo to show that he's not just kidding around and messing with her. And so he starts to swear his love by the moon. And she stops him and she says, "Swear not by the moon, the inconstant moon that monthly changes in her circle orb, lest that thy love prove likewise variable." When he asks what he should swear by, Juliet says, showing wisdom way beyond 14, she says to not swear by anything at all except himself. Now this gets a little tricky, because we all know, like the moon, like everything, we change. We change too. So it's really not any more a constant thing for him to swear by himself than it is to swear by the moon. However, I think the point that Juliet's making is to remind Romeo to go within to prove his love for her. She doesn't want him to explain his affections away by comparing them to things outside himself. She wants him to declare his commitment for her by grounding it within himself, a connection within. So we need reminders to do this. Sometimes we need reminders to reconnect. And it's important to remember to do this, not only to connect with spirit and with ourselves, it's also truly important to remember how connected we are with each other. The world reminds us of this every day. This past week, it's been reminding us in some deeply painful ways. When we forget the connection that exists between all of us, we buy into the messages we hear about our differences, about our inability to understand each other, about our need to take sides, about our need to be right. And the pain of all of that can sometimes cause us to simply not want to engage, to disconnect entirely, and to not be in it at all. So here's a little story that kind of tells it in a different perspective. A little mouse saw through a crack in the wall that the farmer and his wife, who owned the house where the mouse lived, were opening a package, and he was so excited. Oh, what food have they gotten for me? And he was aghast to discover that it was a mouse trap. So he ran to the farmyard, and he's yelling, "There's a mouse trap in the house. There's a mouse trap in the house." And the chicken clucked and scratched and raised her head and said, "Mr. Mouse, I can tell that this is a grave concern to you, but it is of no consequence to me. I cannot be bothered by it." So the mouse turned to the pig and told him, "There's a mouse trap in the house." "Well, I'm very sorry," sympathized the pig, "really sorry, but there's nothing I can do about it but pray. So be assured, you're in my prayers." So the mouse turned to the cow, and the cow said, "Wow, Mr. Mouse, mouse trap. Am I in any danger? Duh." So the mouse returned to the house, dejected, to face the mousetrap alone. That very night, a sound was heard throughout the house, like the sound of a mousetrap catching its prey. And the farmer's wife rushed to see what she had caught. And in the darkness, she didn't see that it was a venomous snake whose tail had gotten caught in the mousetrap. And as she got near it, the snake bit her. The farmer rushed her to the hospital. She returned home with a fever. Now everyone knows how you treat a fever, with a little chicken soup. So the farmer went to the farmyard and got the chicken to make some chicken soup. His wife's sickness continued, and so friends and neighbors came to sit around the clock, and he had to feed them. So bye-bye pig. The farmer's wife did not get well, and in fact she died. And so many people came to her funeral, the farmer had to slaughter the cow to provide meat to feed everybody. There's no escaping it. We impact each other. We are all connected. And this has actually been scientifically proven that we are connected to each other as humans. Scientific research has revealed that all humans share, check this, 99.99% of identical genetic sequences. That's all but 0.01%, 1/100th of 1%. Biologically, we're virtually identical at the genetic level, connected. And likewise, if you choose to believe that we are created, in the largest sense of the word, by this ever-expanding essence of pure love, equally and all in the image of love, then that means that we're totally connected to that thing, spirit, God, whatever we want to call it, that created us. So we're connected to that. And how could we be anything but that? If we believe that, what could we be? What else could we be? So if we break it down to biology and science and facts, which my friends who live the path of atheism always challenge me to say, well, take it back a step, take it back a step. I'm like, okay, then let's keep taking it back a step. Where does it leave us? A mystery. Some people call that mystery God. Some people call it love. Some people call it light. Some whatever you want to call it. It takes us back to this mystery. And what's really cool, talk about connection, is that the Pope and I actually agree on this. The Pope has changed his stance about creationism and evolution, and he's opening up to the idea. So how funny is that a nice Jewish interfaith girl from Shaker Heights, Ohio, and the Pope were like this. We're like totally in agreement. That's a miracle of connection. So we're going to shift gears for a minute, because there's also this question of how and when we become aware of the connection, because we know that it's there. Sometimes we know it, sometimes we forget it, but how do we become aware of it? And there's this quote from E.E. Cummings, and the first sentence of it kind of makes people go, wait, just stay with it. We do not believe in ourselves until someone reveals that something deep inside us is valuable, worth listening to, worthy of our trust, sacred to our touch. Once we believe in ourselves, we can risk curiosity, wonder, spontaneous delight, or any experience that reveals the human spirit. Now, it may or may not be true that we need another to believe in us before we believe in ourselves. Jury's out. And I'm okay with that. For many of us, though, this can ring true. That we can live with some doubt and some itchiness until somebody was like, no, you are that thing. I am that thing. So it may not be that they inform us of it, they may just remind us of it. And so then, in order to venture out into the mysteries of life, it sure feels good to have a cheering section, doesn't it? To take a step out into nothing and have people going, you can do this, because I believe in you and I know you can. And even if it's just one person, even if it's somebody you don't even know, even if it's Oprah, Oprah believes in me, I can do this. That's all that it takes. And so, as the quote says, once that belief in ourselves has become our own, we carry it within and we go exploring. So I bring this quote up because it directly relates to the next little rabbit hole that Spirit took me down. Deep breath. Harry Potter. Okay. I'm way behind the curve on the whole Harry Potter thing. Never read the books. Hadn't seen any of the movies until 2 weeks ago. And in the last 2 weeks, Heather and I have been blasting through these movies. And it's amazing to me. I mean, I'm not a wizardy kind of girl. There's a lot in there, though. There's a lot in there. And in the next couple of talks, I'm just letting you know now, you're going to be hearing from Dumbledore quite a bit. And it's usually right at the end of the movie. Heather makes fun of me. We're watching the movie, and right near the end, Dumbledore will say something, and I'll just kind of go, huh. And she'll say, do you want me to pause? I'm like, yeah, please. And it's just that one little, huh. That's the cue. So the thing that got me the most, though, in relation to this talk was the one we recently watched, was number 5, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. I'm pretty sure this is my favorite one. And what I found really interesting in this particular story is the word connection kept coming up in this one, more than the others. The concept of connection, the different forms of connection kept coming up in this. So before I continue, are most of you familiar with Harry Potter? Yeah. Okay, sort of, somewhat. Okay, huh? Behind the curve, okay. So there might be a spoiler in here. I'll try to behave myself. But anyway, so basically, good guys, really bad guys, not so sure. Not so sure. But it's Alan Rickman, so we love him. I love him. So I don't care if he's a good guy or a bad guy, it's Alan Rickman. But anyway, so that kind of gives you an idea. Yeah. So, nice. So in this chapter, in this portion of the story, Harry has already encountered, this is Voldemort, really bad guy, usually is referred to as the one with no name or the one who shall not be named or that bad guy. And Harry is preparing for this big battle that is to come because he and Voldemort have a history. And they have this long story together. And so every time Harry starts to feel like wonky or out of character or a little disoriented, this scar on his forehead starts to burn. And it's a scar that Voldemort gave him when he was a child. So connection, boom, scar. He knows when Voldemort's nearby because owie. So then Snape, Alan Rickman, says to Harry that Harry and Voldemort have a mind connection. And so we already know about the connection because of the thing, but Snape is saying that there's a good chance that they're able to see each other's lives, worlds, thoughts and plans through each other's minds. Now, this would be awesome if Voldemort was a good guy. It's not so great because he's a really bad guy. So then Harry goes to Sirius Black, this guy, Gary Oldman, rockin', cool. And Sirius is Harry's godfather. Harry's kind of orphanish. His parents died. He lives with these horrible people. And so he has very few connections, heart connections. Sirius is his family heart connection. And so he takes this to Sirius and tells him about what's going on. And so there is a bond of love and trust with Sirius, also with Dumbledore. So you see what they're doing here? They're bringing light to darkness, enlightenment, Snape enlightening Harry, bringing light to darkness, Sirius bringing love to hate. Because the only thing that can dispel the dark, light. The only thing that can dispel hate, love. Classic themes. Which, if somebody had told me this years ago, I might have actually watched these, but I didn't know that this was happening. So through these connections, they are showing how we change, how we grow. Nicely done. I'm very impressed with it. And then there's only one more reference that I'm going to bring in, and that is Harry takes all of his, several of his fellow students, and he starts training them to become better wizards for the battle to come. And one of the spells that he's teaching them is Stupefy, which is the stunning spell. It's to stun your enemy for a limited amount of time so you can either get away or do something else. And he instructs them that they have to hold their focus. They have to hold a single focus to keep the connection going. If they get distracted, they'll lose the connection. So there's a lot in there. It was really cool. There's just so much in there. But for me, what it came down to was two things. One, what we are connected with the strongest is what guides us. So what we connect with the strongest is what guides us. And two, what we hold our focus on the most is what keeps our connection strong. So because Harry chooses to believe those who are teaching him, who are guiding him, who truly see him, he is able to remember who he is. He is able to do what he is there to do, and he's able to face these challenges and to step out into the unknown. His connection with those who support him give him strength to go up against the connection with the one who is against him. This connection allows him to continue to triumph, as far as I know. Apparently there are 3 more movies, and there's more to come. However, at this point, he's able to conquer. So there's a lot to be said for this dark-light balance connection and how the dark and the light are all connected in and how we deal with it. So Jan Phillips, I'm going to say goodbye to Alan Rickman now. Bye. I'll see you later. All right, we'll talk. Okay. So Jan Phillips, what can I tell you? In No Ordinary Time, there it is. Oh, I didn't put it in. Did I not put it in? I didn't. All right, I apologize. You'll just have to listen. Jan Phillips in No Ordinary Time said this: "It takes more than vision to make a visionary. It takes a rigorous discipline of mindfulness and a meticulous undoing of old habits. It requires the capacity to not simply withstand the tension of opposites, but to become the mechanism for their transformation, to contain and direct the power that is generated as they fuse and ignite. Just as a battery cable needs to be connected to the positive and the negative poles to give power to recharge a dead battery, so it is with us. If we learn to bring the opposites together in our own lives, to welcome ideas that differ, to embrace people from different cultures and creeds, then we learn as well the alchemy of evolutionary creativity. It's awesome, right? So as many of you know, I work with kids in residential psychiatric treatment, and most of the kids are there in treatment because of either situations at home or something that's going on internally with them. And whatever it is, it makes them need to be in a new environment to sort things out and to work it out. Many of these kids have heard stories about themselves from teachers, family, people in the world. And they choose to believe these stories, that they're bad, they're defective, they're broken, they're wrong, they're a mistake. And the more they connect with that story, the more it gives them permission to act that story out. Well, I did that bad thing because I'm bad. You know I'm bad. I'm broken. That's why I did that. Wow. Turning that around is not easy. And so when they're told, like Harry is repeatedly told in his story who he truly is, it can be really confusing. And they stubbornly refuse to believe anything other than I'm broken and I'm bad and I'm defective. And it's like this stubborn hanging on to, but this is the truth of who I am. So those of us who work with these kids, when we can shift the weight of their story from the dark to the light, from the hurt to the loved, from the unseen to the seen, or from the seen incorrectly to the capital S seen, we help these young people make a new connection to themselves and to the world around them, and it gives them the freedom to leap into the mystery of the world and have new experiences and go a new direction. So this is true for all of us, right, though? Creating a new story around what we used to believe about ourselves, about others, about the world. We have the potential to become connected with a stronger, better, capital G, good story, which can shine light right on the darkness of our old stories. And we kind of go, oh. So once the work begins, then comes part 2, which is hold the focus on the new story. This new way of thinking, new way of living, being, seeing our connection. Focus our energies there on that connection. And so just like Pai Patel in Life of Pi says, and so it is with God. God, when personified, can be Voldemort. When we put God as a man in the sky who decides what teams win and whether our day is good enough, we've just now made God the bad guy. And we can connect into that story and perpetuate it as long as we want. Or we can, if we want to personify it differently, we can make God Sirius Black. We can make God into the essence of all that it is. We can make God into a turtle. We can make God into whatever we want. That expansiveness and unlimited essence of love that God is. And then it becomes the guide, becomes the light. And then we focus our energy there and connect into that. When we claim that God is causing our problems or blame God for them, we're creating a low vibration, and we're keeping that low vibration going. So we can blame, or we can become spiritually mature, and we can know that God is not a person or personality that controls things. It is a co-creative essence that co-creates with us as expressions of love. So life happens, and that's no doubt. Life happens, it happens to all of us, it happens through all of us. And so because we are connected with this energy and creation, and we are connected with each other, when something happens, it happens to all of us. And we'll have different perspectives, and of course different opinions about it. Wow, do we ever? This past week taught me that a lot. There's no denying, however, that everything is connected. So just a couple last things. This afternoon when I do chapel with the kids, we're doing a chapel theme called Ubuntu, which is an African philosophy, and it's the ultimate truth of connection. It's, I am who I am because of who you are. I am because you are. And it's not in a codependent or unhealthy way. It's in an interdependent way, realizing that we impact each other and that we share so much more when we share and not separate and not do this imbalance thing. When we believe that each of us has a right to believe in the thing that we believe in, we become connected. So David Wallace, one of my teachers from One Spirit, said this: if we can acknowledge the message which the mystics have been whispering for millennia, everything is interconnected. The divine is available to us just as we are, directly. And all our actions, thoughts, and intentions matter supremely, for they always affect the whole of reality. If we can hear and live from this good news, then the world will be truly transformed into a more sustainable, more compassionate place. So with all that's happening in the country right now and the world, the big takeaway from today is this whole connection thing. Remember, we bring light to the darkness, not they will. We bring love to the absence of love. We do it. So as we go into prayer, I just want to share this short quote from Ram Dass. Remember, we are all affecting the world every moment, whether we mean to or not. Our actions and states of mind matter because we're so deeply interconnected with one another. Working on our own consciousness is the most important thing that we are doing at any moment. And being love is the supreme creative act. So as we step into this time of prayer, this is what I know to be true. We are guided by that which believes in us and gives us strength. And when we focus on good, on light, on love, on change, on truth, on seeing each other, not only do we become stronger, we help all of our brothers and sisters around this planet get stronger. And so whether we are dealing with a personal, private issue that is causing us anguish, or whether, like so many, we are grieving what is taking place in Paris, or whether we are grieving what is taking place in our own country, the awakening of long-held beliefs that need to shift, and so many places around the world that are being shaken and awakened in less than loving ways. This is what I know to be true. We are connected. And so in order to bring more good into the world, we must believe that there is good in the world. That there is good in us, that there is good in the people around us, and that there is good potentially waiting to unfold. When we can hold that space of yes, of light, of change for the better, then I can truly know, as my sister said to me yesterday, that the hand of God is working in all of it. And so truly, I hold each and every one of us in a place of love, in a place of gentle care, knowing that each thought that I have somehow ripples. And so I am committing myself to thinking light, to thinking love, to thinking peace, to thinking truth, to thinking acceptance, forgiveness, to thinking of embracing, to remembering that this connection that we have with each other is unbreakable. And it feeds us. So let's nurture it and nourish it with good. With deep gratitude, I hold each and every one of us in a sacred space. And just simply know that love is on it. Amen. Ashe.